Let's make some tumblers, cats and kittens. I'm starting off with this beautiful gold holographic glitter from Mr. Nola's Glitter, and I will link that down below if they still have it. I'm adding to that a white opal glitter as well. And I will also be using this fine cut white holographic glitter. I am making college themed tumblers for my daughter and her best friend. They went off to college together last week and they are actually rooming together, so that's pretty cool. And I wanted them to have something that was a little bit of a reminder of home. So I decided to make them tumblers so they could remember me and remember to call maybe, right? Like, don't forget to call your mom. This glitter is going to go over the entirety of both tumblers, and I'm using the epoxy method for this. So when you're using the epoxy method to lay down glitter as just a full base, you don't want to use too much epoxy. If you use too much epoxy, what happens is the glitter can sort of sink into it, and you'll have areas of the glitter that look a little flat. So I do my best to avoid that by using very little epoxy. I do think I probably needed a teeny bit more, but it was okay. Once I remove the bubbles from the epoxy layer by torching it, I go to town with my glitter. Now, going to town looks a lot different than tapping on the cup. It's at this point I realize, wow, I did not make enough glitter because I'm gonna have to keep refilling this cup so many times. I probably had enough to do one tumbler, but definitely not two. I do end up making more. While you're watching me mix and apply my glitter, I'll tell you a little bit about the school they're going to. So the girls are going to California State University, Monterey, and that is in Monterey, California. It is right on the ocean on California's central coast. And this isn't warm beach area. This is a pretty cool area most of the time. It becomes quite foggy and cool, but it's beautiful. And I'll tell you what, in the summer, the 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit weather sure beats the 100 plus here in the Central Valley in Northern California where we live. Monterey, California, and that's in the US for our friends abroad, is really well known for their aquarium. They have the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and the area is very well known to have sea otters, sea lions, lots of cool sea life, but a lot of otters. And so their mascot is, of course, an otter. And yes, my dad joke game using the word otterly in place of utterly has been strong. This glitter was everywhere. Here I'm just rolling up the tumbler in a piece of cardstock that I actually use to catch the glitter as it's falling. And this is to lay the glitter as flat as possible. That way I don't have to do as many coats of epoxy to get it smooth. The more coats of epoxy you do, the heavier your tumbler is, and I don't want it to be so annoyingly large that they don't use it. Once that cured, it's time to go in with our swirl. And I am using more of that same glitter in the epoxy layer because it will help give better coverage and a little bit extra dimension. And this is where I will also be drizzling the navy blue mica powder mixture along with a gold mica powder mixture. I have to say, I really like the glitter mix I did. It looks very subtle in this light, but it is so sparkly. I definitely want to make this mix again and use it on something else. I actually have some left over, so that shouldn't be too difficult. These are the two colors I'm using for the swirl, and in just a moment you'll see me dump like half the bottle of the gold into my resin. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. As a result, the resin was thicker than I had actually wanted it to be, and it didn't end up moving as much as I would really hope. So one of the things that happened because of that is, instead of it looking swirly, combined with the high contrast between the navy blue and the white background, it ended up looking kind of stripy. It wasn't really what I was going for. I made it work though, and we are going to be doing a peekaboo on these, which means you cover up a lot of this with decals, and you can either spray paint, or glitter over it, and then you pull up those decals to leave the original layer behind. Also, using a thicker underlayer of epoxy would have helped. The glitter, while it is laying flat, is very coarse, and so I didn't really account for that in deciding how much epoxy I was going to make. I should have done a thicker layer. That would have helped too. Next time, I'll do better. One of the things you can do to help it move around is to use a heat gun. And by heating up the epoxy, you're allowing it to become more fluid. However, if you don't have enough of the underlaying epoxy on there, it's not going to be fluid no matter what you do. So yeah, lesson learned. Don't forget to keep it fancy by keeping your pinky out. Here I'm just starting on the second tumbler, and I end up using more gold on this one, and I really like the way it turned out. I go back and add a little bit more gold to the first one as well. I sped this way up. You know the technique I'm using, and it's same old, same old. Of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to get to your comments, but I want you to know that I read every single one of them, and I'm so grateful for you interacting with my videos and taking the time to leave me a comment. If you can also like my videos and share them with your friends and family, people who you think would like them, or people who you think might be interested even if they aren't currently interested in tumbler making. That really helps my channel. I love each and every one of you. Now it's on to the peekaboo layer. So these are the decals we're going to lay down, and we will be glittering over this. And I'm doing a sort of fade. I start at the bottom of the tumbler and I fade the glitter up towards the rim. So what that's going to do is it's going to cover these decals, and it's going to cover the rest of the cup. Once it's dry and we pull the decals up, you're going to see these images with the original swirl layer inside of them. Hopefully that makes sense, but you'll see what I mean a little bit later. Here, I'm using some polymer clay. I got these adorable clay cutters in the shape of otters. I do wish they were a little bigger, but I think they're meant for earrings and things, so they're kind of small. But I do end up putting these on the tumbler. Off screen, I have my pasta machine that I'm using to flatten out the polymer clay so that it's an even thickness. It's much easier to use that than to try to hand roll it. There's not a chance I would get that even if I just hand rolled it. So here I'm going through and I'm picking out which otters I want to use, and that's cornstarch. I am rubbing that over the surface of the clay so that when I put my cookie cutters in, or my clay cutters I should say, they won't stick. I get an A for effort, but these smaller heads do end up sticking, and I struggle to get them out. I don't really know a good fix for this. If you have any tips, I would love to hear them. I smooth these out with some alcohol. That's what works with polymer clay. So like you would do with air dry clay and water, you do the same technique with alcohol. And I just used a little paintbrush here and did the best I could. And this is my baking tumbler. I only use this for baking polymer clay. And this is so that the clay can take on the shape of the tumbler, and it is much easier to apply that way. It's time for our glitter layer. I have applied those decals toward the bottom, and now I'm using glitter glue, and I'm brushing it on with a nice soft makeup brush. And this is what I was talking about when I say that we're covering it with glitter and just sort of fading it toward the top. I have my cup angled at about a little less than 45 degrees, maybe 40 degrees, and just let it cascade toward the top of the tumbler. Now, that one was for my daughter. This is for her best friend, and her best friend wanted navy blue glitter instead of white. This one actually doesn't lay down quite as nicely. I'm not sure what happened, but it seems like I got some streaks of glue. So it does look a little bit streaky once all is said and done toward the top, but I actually really like the way it turned out. I'm using that same glue to go ahead and sprinkle a second layer over the white. It ended up being a little bit more translucent than I wanted, so I figured a second layer would do the trick, and it worked. After that dried, I sprayed it 2 times with Rust-Oleum Clear spray paint to seal it in, and now it is time to peel up those decals. I apologize if you hear any dogs in the background. I do have my windows open before it gets really hot here so that I can let as much cool air in as possible. This ended up being kind of a huge pain in the ass. The decals were fairly small. Like, I couldn't actually see those bubbles very well, and I'm pretty sure I didn't get all of them pulled up. It turns out okay in the end, but it was kind of hard to do. And also, I'm trying to be very careful so as not to scratch the glitter in any way. It's sealed, but, you know, it's not bulletproof. So these images that I used, I got off of Creative Fabrica, and I just searched for sea life. So there's a few different kinds of kelp, and Monterey Bay Aquarium is actually known for having a very cool kelp forest exhibit. So I wanted to get that in there, and then there's some fish as well. My daughter's best friend's tumbler also has a seahorse on it. My daughter didn't want the seahorse. This was very intricate coral, and it just took a giant chunk off. I don't make you sit through the rest of my peeling all of this up one little bit at a time. That would be really boring. Now I'm on to the layer of epoxy that will smooth out the glitter, and this is a new epoxy I'm trying from Flynn Sisters Supply Shop. I bought this. I'm not sponsored or anything, I wish, but I go through and give it a nice generous layer, and then I pop this in my Resiner's tumbler curing machine for a few hours. This is what I do to help remedy the situation as far as some of these not being very visible. And they're even less visible now because of course I gave my tumbler a really good sanding so that it was even more smooth. Being such an intricate design with different elements in it that were all stuck to one image, so to speak, I really needed to get this lined up well, and I tried super hard. It's still not proper. It's okay though. It's close enough. By doing this outline, I'm able to delineate not only where the peekaboos are so that they're a little bit more defined, but also I'm able to define that area of coral that just pulled up in one big chunk. And when I laid this one down, this one was super off. I was just gonna leave it, and I was like, you know what, I can't leave it, it's gonna bug me. I rode the struggle bus a little bit on this one, but it was worth it in the end. I didn't have to recut it, and it laid down really nicely. This gold vinyl is really forgiving. My daughter ended up FaceTiming me while I was doing this, so the video cut off. I had to keep going because I had to get it done. So sorry, but it would have probably been boring to watch anyhow. Now it's time to seal in all of the vinyl that I put on there, and to do this I'm using polyacrylic. I just put it in a little squeeze bottle to make it easier for myself, and I just use my finger. I'm gonna let that dry for probably 2 or 3 hours, and in the meantime I'm working on these otters. And yeah, I used the black paint pen first on this one, and it just ended up looking creepy. I don't know how I managed that. Otters are really cute, but I made a scary looking one. So don't start with the darkest color first. Note to self. But I did try to mimic their colorings, and of course sea otters look different from river otters, and we're talking about sea otters. So, you know, the cute little guys that lay on their back and they use rocks to smash their clams. I love it. I love otters. They're really cute. I'm kind of out of shot, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to salvage the one that I made scary looking, and I just go over it with that sort of beige colored paint pen. I'm using Posca paint pens and Arteza paint pens to create these little cutie pies. I'm using a pair of jewelry pliers here to hold on to the otter so that I can go around the outer edge with the gray Posca paint pen. I let the paint dry once I'm done with these for probably a solid hour. And then it's time to attach them to the tumbler, and I use UV resin to do that. Now I'm going to go over the whole thing with a coat of epoxy, and to that I'm adding this beautiful glitter alcohol ink in the color blue, green, gold. This is from the brand Marabou, and it gives it just sort of a really subtle sparkle. It looks far less subtle in the cup, of course, because it's all concentrated, but once it gets onto the tumbler, it's just a very subtle little extra sparkle. And I mean, always add more sparkle, right? Always. I give that a generous but not too thick coat. I will go ahead and pop bubbles with my torch, and then it's time to cure. Here I am, popping bubbles. After a very good sanding and another extra coat of epoxy, this tumbler is all done, and I love it. It's so cute. My favorite part, of course, is the little otter. It's so cute. I really want to make myself a pair of otter earrings so that I can wear them when I go visit her at school. I'm sure she and her roommates will find that delightfully dorky, but I'll love it. This happy little guy doesn't look scary at all. He looks pretty charming, I think. And of course, I had to sign the bottom of it for my daughter. I hope you like this tumbler. I had a great time making it. And keep an eye out for pictures of the other tumbler on my community page. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, my kitschy cats and kittens, and I'll see you soon.